Welcome to the first edition of a Breaking Normal pharmacist show, and I mean like an assistant to the farm. My dad's an actual pharmacist that used to own his own pharmacy and now works at Walgreens. And this is, I think I have that in me. I have the ability to be very informative about things that pharmaceuticals are derived from. And today's taboo tea is going to be Kratom, or also known as Kratom. People ask me about that, and I've been using it for about a year and a half on and off most mornings. So I'm gonna show you the way I consume it. And this is actually a real true peephole into my morning, like I would say a very breaking normal morning ritual. I will link the breath ritual that I usually do after this at the end of this video. So if you want to feel your version of how I feel in the morning, I would recommend first getting in a very cold body of water. I'm blessed to be here at JP Sierra's house in Austin, and the pool has gotten to down to around 50 degrees, so I got in that. Then I'd go, this is not only about Kratom, this is more about the whole morning ritual, but the main topic I want to tell you all about is the drink that I make Kratom out of. Before I make the drink, I usually have 16 ounces of straight celery juice. That's all it is, and I like to chew the juice, so it's not like a chugging the juice, but to activate, we have a lot of enzymes in our mouth, primarily salivary amylase, and it's good to chew your juice or drink your food and chew your water, if that makes sense, or drink your food and chew your juice. And I like these kind of juicer. I think it's like a slower, the word's a masticating. It's not like the fast spinning one, so I think you'll get less oxidation. It looks like this, just as a little example. Really easy to do. And typically 16 ounces is a whole stalk of celery. It's roughly around that much. So that's, I made this, we got this made before. I just want to give you an example of that. And for the Kratom drink, what I do is, there's a thing, like if you just go to a smoke shop and buy Kratom, you're probably not going to get the most accurate and wholesome information. My friend Ryan Baldich, who's been studying this a long time, from the Mystic Misfits, he's a big proponent of Kratom, and I think he was at one point on opiates, or he has friends that are on opiates. Most people use Kratom to get off of the opiates. Like, that's what it's most well known for. But for someone that's also just healthy and not addicted to opiates, it also has pretty cool effects. And I also want to say, it is like, there's all kinds of controversy around it. I'll start juicing this lemon in the meantime. I would say it's very similar to like cannabis and coffee, although coffee is much more widely accepted than cannabis around the world. It depends on how you use it. I think Kratom, the best way to use it is a very small dose. So I'm not familiar with using high dosages, and I've heard for people that do high dosages, they might get like that more of that really high feeling that like they're on morphine or Percocet or whatever it is, but they also might have stomach issues, and it might be very unpleasant, and it might be more risky with the addictiveness of it. I put a little maple syrup in the lemon. I like to sweeten it up. Kratom's super bitter. If I was gonna like rate it as an addictive level, I would say, to me, the closest thing I can think of is like coca leaf. When I was in Peru, I chewed on a good bit of coca leaf, and that's what cocaine is derived from, along with a bunch of other crap. But the actual leaf itself is really kind of praised from the Peruvian people, especially. Yeah, there's all kinds of myth around coca leaf that's pretty mystical, and it's not like, in the United States, that from my understanding, the only people that can legally have coca leaf is the Coca-Cola company. And then we can go down the rabbit hole in the controversies of like any herbs that can compete with pharmaceuticals that anyone can grow without a patent. Why are they illegal? Are we creating wars against drugs? Like, what's going on? So without going down that rabbit trail, basically, I think a lot of these plants that are demonized by whether it's the FDA or whoever it is, and there might be more to look into for yourself. So this is a bag of Kratom my friend is actually selling online, and I'll see if I can get y'all some links if you're interested in it at the end of this video. It might be more accurate to measure it by weight, but I'm using a half a teaspoon measurement cup right here, and I just kind of go, if it's your first time using it, I would use a half a teaspoon or less. So I'll go a little over a half a teaspoon, just kind of like topping it off. I mix that with the lemon, and allegedly it's very important. You know, like I said, I learned this from other people, and then I learned it from navigating in my own waters and figuring out, but apparently it's very important to mix it with citrus. So you can use lemon and or lime, and turmeric. And turmeric is allegedly very important to be mixed with black pepper. Without black pepper, allegedly the turmeric's not as activating. Without the turmeric, allegedly the kratom is not as activating as synergistic. So once again, I'll just go a little over a half teaspoon with the golden milk. You can get that pretty much anywhere. It's the same thing they make golden milk out of. There's just all the ingredients in there. There is turmeric and black pepper. And then black seed oil is allegedly good for this too. I've tried different brands of black seed oil. I had never used black seed oil before this kratom drink. I use a full teaspoon of it. I really like it in the drink. It feels really good in my stomach. And once again, I did not do all the research, like what is this supposed to do for this in my body. It's more like, I'll give it a go and see how I feel. And I've been giving it a go and I feel really good on it. Basically a full teaspoon in the morning. I mix some spirulina here. I would usually scoop the spirulina first, but I forgot because now I don't want to get the spirulina, I don't want to get oil all in the spirulina bottle, so I'll just pour some intuitively in here. And there's different ideas around spirulina. I've heard the Hawaiian spirulina is the best for different reasons. If anyone has any theories about why would Hawaiian spirulina be better than like India spirulina, please also comment in the comments below. And then those are the ingredients. I got the golden milk, the black seed oil, the spirulina, just over a half a teaspoon of the kratom, a little maple syrup, and citrus. And this is all after drinking my celery juice in the morning. The celery juice. I don't know if you've ever eaten celery and noticed a numbing in your mouth. I would say I get a slight numbing throughout my whole body. So I'm not sure what's more taboo, the kratom or the celery. I know the FDA would say the kratom is. I'll say for the kratom, it does remind me of like coffee. Like once I started drinking coffee, it became challenging for me not to drink coffee every morning because I just built like a ritual around it and I enjoy it, and I will drink coffee later in the day. But what I will say mostly important, what's most important about this ritual of mine with kratom, I've experimented with it at like different times in the day. To me, it works by far the best on an empty stomach. So the only thing I've had in my stomach today is, since waking up, is the celery juice. And that it kind of usually cleans people out. So on an empty stomach, and I love to do movement with it. Like I would not recommend going into the library late at night and drinking kratom to read. Unless you're trying to stay up later. Like I've noticed it does have a stimulating effect. I didn't sleep as well if I took it late at night. But what it does do for me is if I want to go like polar plunging or do breath work, which I would recommend breath work in the morning after it, or a long walk while listening to an audiobook like Breaking Normal. That's what I typically do. I listen to audiobooks and take an awesome walk with my dogs, or other dogs I'm with. And then I do breath work mixed with cold water. And something about the kratom, it just gives me like a slight like ease. It's like easier on my body. If there's like any aches or pains and like anywhere like in my knees or back or anything that would just like maybe be annoying to me, it feels less annoying on the kratom. On this drink in particular. And then I will also say that it does feel like, it reminds me of the plants of like the cannabis plant or the tobacco plant or the coffee plant or a mushroom, and I can't tell if it's because I'm cultured, but I've got to deal with like guilt around it because some people would think kratom is like an addictive substance that shouldn't be on the market. So I'm not sure if I'm just like battling their projections or if it's because I grew up in an environment like, whatever you do, Daniel, don't do drugs. And like, is this a drug? I don't know. Is it a drug? I would love to. I think someone recently made a documentary about it. It's like, why do people consider kratom a drug? And why is mate a drug? Is like green tea a drug? Is black tea a drug? So I don't like to think of them as drugs. I think these are just like our friends. They can enhance my life if I use them correctly. If I was just recklessly using kratom all throughout the day, I bet I would hate it. just like if I was smoking cannabis all day, I bet I would hate it. But under the right context, I feel like I can partner with these plants in a way that I feel like I'm cheating, actually. Maybe that's why I feel guilty. I'm like, man, this works so well that am I getting like an unfair advantage? So I want to say if you feels very guilty, if like you've smoked tobacco or if you've smoked cannabis or you've drank too much and you like the guilt is too much for you, I'm wondering if Kratom might catalyze a similar effect. So I want to give that warning and disclaimer. But overall, like if I was just going to be a pure objective scientist pharmacist, I'd be like, wow, it seems like I've gotten healthier and better since using Kratom and the way that I found best to do it. And it's added so much to my movement practices in the morning. Yeah, and that's the drink right there. So I would typically drink this, and I think it would last, like, I would notice the effects, and they're subtle. I like to have it, just like if I'm gonna eat some types of mushrooms, I'm not promoting heroic dosages. I promote like a dose, where can I feel it? Am I noticing it? And then to me that's the right zone. So that's the same way I would say for Kratom. I like to be in that zone of like, yeah, I'm feeling it, but it's not, I'm not sure if a first time user would notice it as much as I am. And man, I know our camera woman, if you've never had a taste of this, I could pour you a little sample to see if you want to taste it, because how I would describe the taste is like, it's like a very sweet, sour, bitter, like green drink. That's how I describe it. I love it, but I built up an association around it. And did you have any other questions? I know you're good at asking questions. Did you think I could include anything else that people might want to know?
Yeah, so do you do this daily?
Yeah, okay, that's a good question. I do it daily, in the mornings, and one time in the mornings. Do you want to try it?
I do.
Okay, yeah. Cool, see if you like that. But I think it's good to take a day off at least once a week. And there are so many different strands of Kratom. There are so many different strands. There's usually like, the ones that you'll learn about are green, red, and white. From my understanding, I like the green the best. The red is supposed to be more mellowing, and I think it might be. So like people might take the red Kratom at night, but I still feel stimulated. Like I wouldn't be able to sleep that well on red Kratom, even though it might be less stimulating than the green or the white. I would also recommend changing the strands, because there's so many different strands of Kratom. So instead of just your body getting so used to the same strand, the same tree from the same place in the world, you can get strands from different trees in different parts in the world. And I think that also helps keep your tolerance, like it keeps your body not used to the same exact thing every day. I think that's typically a good practice, even for coffees. Like I don't recommend someone drinking the same coffee bean from the same farm every day of the year. You can literally drink a different coffee or beer or Kratom drink every day of the year. And so I like the variety. And I also think it's important to where you're sourcing it. Like just make sure you're sourcing it from a quality person. I have a friend that takes this very seriously online, and I'll see if I can get links from that. And I think there's another company called Earth Kratom that usually distributes at smoke shops and or online. But from my understanding, it's pretty regulated, and I could see why. Because if this drink, if that plant, if that herb, if that bush, just that simple leaf could get people off certain drugs that are backed by billions of dollars that have patents and stuff, and this is just any kind of farmer in Asia or Hawaii could grow, I can see why it can be controversial. And I think at one time, because it's not that regulated, maybe people were mixing other things in Kratom and it got a bad rep, and there might be fear mongering around it, but once again, I'm not so interested in trying to call any specific entities out about that, but more like, what's your experience with Kratom? And this is how I've found the best way to use it. And I trust you're getting value out of me sharing my experience as accurately as I can. And that's what I would love to hear from y'all. I'm not trying to push any kind of dogmas. No one's paying me to make this. Directly anyways, like I'm not sponsored by any of these companies. Speaking of maple syrup, get the dark maple syrup. That's another suggestion. I'm looking at the other products I have here. So they used to have like grade A, grade B. I would go with previously grade B. It's less filtered. It's like more of a whole product. And then is there any other things that I wanna, yeah. So I would love to know if you're using it. Have you tried it like this, and do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you have any other techniques? And I would say if you are addicted to opiates and you're having a problem with them, I've heard so many success stories about getting off of those opiates using Kratom or Kratom. How do you pronounce it? Kratom or Kratom? And once again, special shout out to Ryan Bowditch from the Mystic Misfits. Him and Kevin turned me on to it, but Ryan really dove into why to use all these ingredients together, and I've definitely taken Kratom by itself versus making a drink like this, and I love the drink. I would probably am not even that interested in just like popping Kratom pills, which might be the way most people take them, which I think is just the ground up Kratom in a capsule. All right, trust that was edutaining enough. If any questions, ask them below, and I can do other videos like this. So if you like this video, give it a like, give it a share, let me know. If you dare. Rhyme time. I also wanted to mention, I told you I was drinking the celery juice. Once again, I hear about ideas and I test them for myself without trying to get too caught up in the placebo and the projection and the dogma and the ideas and the rules. But Deanna is the one that told me about this, my wife, and she learned about it from a book called The Medical Medium, which a lot of people seem to be getting great results from, for people that have mysterious illnesses or ways they don't know what's going on with their body. I think one of his protocols is to drink 16 ounces of celery juice in the morning. And I tagged him a few on Instagram, and he like reshares all these tags. A lot of people are doing this, and it seems like they're getting a lot of good results. And I will say that if you want, I'm not going to quote him. I haven't even read his book, but the book is called Medical Medium, and I think his first name is Anthony something. Don't know if I told you I mixed my powders with water, basically basic cold spring water. I got it bottled here. This is just like regular spring water from the store. If you have access to a spring, go get your own spring water, and you can go to findaspring.com. My friend Daniel Vitalis runs a website like that if you want to find local spring water. And the juicer, once again, I mentioned this is like a slow juicer. I will say the best juicer is the juicer you use the most, and if you're going to use whatever juice, if you're committed to juicing, then I do think the slower, like emasticating juices are better than the fast spinning ones.
So how much did that just make? And is that the glass that you drink every morning?
So that was my 16 ounces of celery juice. I'm finished. Now I'm gonna officially really drink this drink. I typically, because I'm drinking 16 ounces of juice beforehand, I typically like add 8 to 10 ounces of water to that powder maple syrup black seed oil mixture you saw me make with the Kratom. So it's kind of personal preference. I do think being hydrated in the morning is genius, and I think most people in the United States, or let's put it this way, man's biggest issue, I think, as a whole, humanity's biggest issue as a whole was finding enough food. Now I think humanity's biggest issue is having access to too much food, and I think most people are actually thirsty when they think they're hungry. So a lot of people wake up in the morning to eat. I don't really eat much food till later in the day. So I would say make sure you're extremely hydrated. If I wasn't drinking that celery juice before, I might drink like 16 ounces of water and then the Kratom drink, with about another 10 ounces of water mixed with the Kratom drink. So I'm getting almost like 30 ounces of water, either from a celery juice stock and or spring water right off the bat. But to get a taste of it, yeah, I would say 8 to 10 ounces. Mix 8 to 10 ounces of water, the best spring water you can find, or the best water you can find, mixed with that drink to make the Kratom tea, or whatever you want to call this. Your super juice, your cheat juice.
That's a taste, one word.
Like now that I'm thinking about people looking at me tasting, and I love the taste. One word. Dynamic. Because it's got the sweetness, and it's got the sourness, and it's got the bitterness. The Kratom's mostly bitter, but with all the other ingredients, it makes it kind of a full experience.